Hi, this is Carl Taylor, Books for Experts. I founded this business to help attorneys gain authority through books and other authority assets like articles, podcasts, in order to sell their firm to be referred by AI, to be referred by humans. And today I want to talk about sort of a difficult subject, which is what do you do when things are not going as you planned or not going as well as you had hoped? And I sit here today, my ulcerative colitis is really acting up, so I don't feel great. And I'm 3 months into starting Books for Experts, and I've written a few books, a couple 100,000 words on the subject, and the content flow is, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work in the beginning to start a business, right? And you don't always get, uh, the traction you hope immediately, right? It takes a while. It takes consistent effort. And I've been through this because when I started my law firm, there were definitely months, even a year or two in the beginning where I used to say I want to go fetal. I want to just kind of like crawl up in a ball, and it's like the phone's not ringing. And maybe you can relate if you have a practice, especially a newer one, or sometimes things go through cycles and there's macro events that occur that slow things down. But it's really hard to keep the faith, right? When things are not uh, moving at the pace you would hope. And what really turned my law firm around was writing my book, Happily Even After, The Guide to Divorce in New Jersey. Before that, I was just kind of hoping the phone would ring. I was a trustee of the Bar Association. I was, writing articles for the New Jersey Law Journal and other places. But I didn't really have a big marketing budget. And it was really just my time, right? And trying to build up authority. And that takes longer. That's the one thing that I can't deny that the pay-per-click types have. They may not get your phone ringing with the right people, but they get your phone ringing pretty fast. Authority takes a little bit longer, and it's a harder sale, right? Once you get it, you have the assets already paid for. It's yours. You have it forever. It's legacy building. So there's a lot of benefits to it. But in the beginning, it can be a little bit slower. And luckily for me, it was the book that once I got out there, it was much easier to sell my book than to sell my law firm in many ways. I went solo for the first time. I was 26 years old. I had clerked for a year. I'd worked at a small family law firm for a year, and I was stupid enough and entrepreneurial enough to decide to go off on my own. And I did that for 3 years. And luckily, I worked with an attorney who was pretty dialed in, and that helped build my network up. And from there, I eventually, was still kind of creaking along. I was doing better than I was at the firm I'd worked at financially, but not great. I got offered a job where I'd be deputy county counsel for Somerset County, New Jersey. I could be part of a small firm, and it was more than I could pay, more than I was getting from the market for my own firm, and it seemed consistent. And I liked the person who offered me the job very much, so I took it. And I did that for 3 years until the politics shifted, and then I was back on my own again. And then I was back to being fetal again. Because now I got kids. I'm like 30. I'm on my own, and trying to start up this divorce practice. Luckily, I found a couple prosecuting jobs for townships early on through some of my connections, but essentially, I was on my own. And if you don't have the money for marketing, all you have is time, right? But it takes time to have that traction. I eventually in 2017, I came out with the book Happily Even After, and that really is when my phone started ringing consistently, and not just with the phone, not just only ringing, but people who I wanted to work with. I was able to bring in staff, and I was able to progress. There's setbacks from the pandemic, but and health setbacks personally, over time. But uh, so yeah, I mean, the first I my revenue five timed once I did the book, and maybe part of that was just the nature of the connections I made, the articles I've been writing, getting my name out there, getting older, and more experienced, and the market knowing who I was a little bit better. But it was not easy, and I have to remind myself of that with Books for Experts now because I started this uh, in June, and here we are in September, and it's like, oh, I've been I've been posting every day to my website. I've been creating these videos. I've been creating podcasts, and it's like it's hard to even get people to even be on my podcast sometimes because it's a new podcast, right? What so success breeds success. And when you're going into a new category like I'm doing here, um, it takes time. It takes time for people to know who you are. And lawyers, we're a skeptical bunch, right? We actually rank the highest, I think, of any profession in being skeptical. So my market is lawyers. Um, and they're even more skeptical than divorce clients. Um, but the good news is, I started this business because I wanted to fight the commodification of lawyers. I wanted to fight the marketing sludge that I see out there that I've experienced. As a younger attorney, I was taken advantage of, I felt like, in many instances of where I attempted to market. I felt like I didn't get what I paid for. There was no consistency. Um, when I look around at a lot of marketing, it seems very same, very commodified. And that's not how you stand out, right? But it's hard to get that message out there because the other piece of what I'm trying to do is AIO, or authority intelligence optimization. And most attorneys haven't even heard of that term. They're still on SEO or pay per click. So I have to teach people about how AIO is better, how creating authority for your practice is better, sell them on that idea, right? And then sell them on my business. But yeah, so I want to just be a little, one of the things I tell my clients is be willing to be vulnerable, right? Be authentic because authority equals expertise plus narrative plus authenticity. So I want to come on here and say it's not always easy when you feel like you're writing every day, you're creating great content, but maybe it's not getting found. It takes a while for the algorithms to get together. I was booted the first week I started my new profile from LinkedIn. I don't know why. Apparently that happens to a lot of people, and now I'm sort of like banned from LinkedIn, which is where I was hoping to post my stuff and find clients. So there's these setbacks, and you just got to keep moving forward. That's part of being an entrepreneur. And as much as you want to go and curl up and go fetal, you can't because there's nothing there, right? Other than giving up or losing traction. And eventually things start to spin and then it gets much easier. And I've seen that with my divorce practice. Um, I'm sure you've experienced that. So just try to be candid if you ever have days where you have tough health or you feel like you're waiting on certain projects to develop and they're taking longer than you'd expect or hope. That's part of it. You just have to do what you gotta do and hang in there and keep producing the authority content because eventually it gets found and it starts to take on a life of its own. It becomes almost like a passive legacy income. So hope this was helpful and hope everyone has a great day. Hang in there. Take care. Bye.